lovely people, and welcome to the Wren and the Wild May video. To start with, we're going on a train ride from Edinburgh down the east coast of Britain all the way into London and then on to Kent. Kent is known as the Garden of England due to its huge amount of orchards and hop gardens. The train line hugs the coastline most of the way from Edinburgh to Newcastle, and in my opinion, this section of the journey is one of the loveliest train rides in Britain. There are dramatic vistas over the cliffs and beaches down to the sea, and some equally dramatic ones in the places we pass through, such as this view over the Royal Border Bridge in Berwick-upon-Tweed. In the distance there is Alnmouth, a cute looking coastal village which is definitely on my must visit list. Here we are passing through Newcastle and then Durham with the dramatic cathedral in the background. The rest of the journey south passes through agricultural farmland and important station towns and cities until we reach London's King's Cross. Travelling out of London and onto Kent, we passed an interesting looking gas holder park, which I managed to film more of on the way back in. Here we are crossing the River Medway on the edge of Rochester. And then it's straight on to the heart of Kent. And not to sound too cheesy, but it's the first time I've properly visited this county, and I do feel like it stole a bit of my heart. The farmland felt very bountiful, with billowing hedges, large trees and clumps of scrubby vegetation in and around the fields. I spotted a couple of particularly beautiful trees while we were down in Kent. This one is called a red horse chestnut, and they are mostly found in southern England. They're a cross between a horse chestnut and a red buckeye, and look how beautiful these flowers are, just stunning. The next one I found is a copper beech. I love the silky hairs on the beautifully coloured leaves, an adaptation to keep caterpillars and other hungry insects away as the young leaves grow. Many moth caterpillars eat the leaves as the hairiness dissipates as they mature. I was also lucky enough to spot a moorhen nesting at the bottom of a bridge surrounded by a gently flowing river. Then all too soon, it was back on the train to London to catch our Edinburgh train from King's Cross. I did, however, manage to take some better footage of the fab-looking gas holder park, which looks out over the canal boats at St Pancras Lock. It's part of a massive redevelopment that King's Cross has undergone since the early 2000s, which enabled 10 new major public spaces to be created. The more innovation like this, definitely the better. When I returned to Edinburgh, I went to explore a walled garden on Corstorphine Hill. As I entered the local nature reserve, I was met with the most beautiful array of spring flowers, including cow parsley, frothy hawthorn flowers, and these pretty forget-me-nots. But the biggest discovery was the hyacinths that were dotted all over the woods. I think these are Hyacinthoides cross Massartiana and are a cross between our native bluebells and the Spanish bluebell. This is the entrance to the walled garden. It once belonged to Hillwood House, which was built in 1872, and it was believed that the garden provided the house with fruit, vegetables and herbs. After the Second World War, the house and grounds fell into disrepair, but in 1999 the Friends of Corstorphine Hill were formed, and they re-established the garden into a horticultural display and information centre for the benefit of the community. Check out the Wren plaque here, how cool is that? Check out the bees going crazy on this blossom over here. The bench up here is dedicated to the visionary of the garden, and just look at the beautiful view you get if you sit down on it. You might have seen on the map that many areas within the garden are created for wildlife, including plants to encourage butterflies, a natural regeneration area, and here at the top of this path there is even a bug hotel, or as they've called it, a bug shack. Surrounding the bug shack is a fernery with information signs dotted about. One says that ferns belong to the oldest plant varieties on Earth. More than 10,000 varieties of fern are found all over the world. Ferns reproduce by spores, and they filter polluted air and produce pure oxygen. Even more amazing is that a tiny fern found on only a few Pacific islands has just broken a world record for having more DNA than any other living thing. If the fern's genetic material was to be unravelled, it would reach around 100 metres, whereas if the same were done for humans, ours would reach to around 2 metres. How crazy is that? This section here is the natural regeneration area where nature is left to do her beautiful thing. And beyond that is a really cool animal bench with a woodland theme, with badgers, foxes, hares, squirrels, birds and a thistle carved into it. To enhance the community aspect of the garden, the Friends group has created plots where members of the community can grow their own for just a £1 membership fee, which is such a lovely idea. This is a well-organised composting area, including deadwood piles, which are great for insects. Next to it is a very nice picnic area, and running alongside that is a thick hedge with stunning vinca flowers in it. Beside that is a wetland area with signs saying "Keep out, frogs busy." Unfortunately, I didn't actually see any busy frogs, but I love the fact that they're there and that they're being looked after. Before I left, I noticed movement above me in the huge sycamore tree, and I spotted what I think is a great tip bird. I love how it scooted along the branches, it's so cute. At the end, see if you can spot its partner joining in. Later in the month, I decided to perk up some planters that I had either side of the cat flap. As you can see, Knuckles is very excited about this and has come to inspect what's happening. I bought some Bidens called Pretty in Pink. I love these because the petals look like they've had their colour painted on. They're a half-hardy perennial but are often grown as annuals in Britain. I gave them a good water before I planted them and used a peat-free compost, which thankfully for the environment are becoming much more prevalent in garden centres. It's really important to keep peat in the ground as it stores a huge amount of carbon which gets released into the environment when the peat is extracted from the ground. Preserving rare peatland is also vital as they support unique biodiversity such as flowering plants and invertebrates, which according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature includes over a third of the UK's true flies. I stupidly forgot to film any footage, but in May I ran the Edinburgh 5K and I was fundraising for Rewilding Britain, which is Britain's first rewilding charity who are working towards restoring and connecting a mosaic of species-rich habitats across at least 30% of Britain's land and sea within the next 6 years. So it's totally vital work, and I exceeded my fundraising target and fundraised £230 for them. So I'm so chuffed, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who donated. It means the world to me. I hope you enjoyed May's video, and I'll hopefully see you next month for more wild adventures.